Well, that starts us off the right way, huh?
Yes.
Welcome to the highlights from a Lowlife show here on the Mic'd Up app. I want to say network, but it's an app. So anyway, it just feels better to go here on the Mic'd Up network. Anyway, we are the Lowlifes. Tonight, we comprise of myself, Rob Weber, Jeff Jones, and Marty Clip-On Brown.
Hey!
I call him as I see him. Our Terry Lee, Tiger, is on assignment. So
Just
tonight
wanted to
our
play the
topic
sound.
is a very, I think it was one that was very interesting to a lot of people. Top 5 worst announcers in sports. I think we all had some fun picking our lists, and we've got a bunch of comments. If you're watching the show live on the Mic'd Up app, as you should be, hit that microphone button down at the bottom, leave us a comment. Comment on our comments when we get to what you're drinking. Tell us what you're drinking. Just interact with us on the show. It makes it a lot more fun for everybody. So, with all that said, let's just dive right into our top fives tonight. I'm thinking Jeff Jones would be a great place to start.
All right, I'm gonna. So we talked about off the air a little bit, or we said announcers, but we all kind of went with commentators. Anybody who talks sports. So mine's a commentator right off the bat, and I have a very good quote to go with it, and it's Stephen A. Smith. I remember
you got him much too low. You got him much too
yes.
low. This is only 5.
Yeah, he could have gone anywhere, and I'm sure he's going to be on everybody's list. But when Steve Young retired and went to ESPN Monday Night Football on the pregame and halftime show, he was doing a lot of that, and he went on his regular KNBR weekly call-in with them, and they were talking about his job there and what he saw and what he thought about commentary, the state of sports commentary. And he said, my favorite quote, volume does not equal validity. And that is Stephen A. Smith in a nutbag. In a nutshell. Stephen A. Smith is a nutbag. Sorry, Freudian slip on Stephen A. Smith.
In a nutbag.
and he's not only loud, but he's a contrarian just to be a contrarian.
Yeah.
He will, whatever the popular opinion is, he will choose the other just so he can choose the other.
Yep.
Very well put. Yeah.
So after I stumbled through that, Rob, what do you got?
You're talking Weber, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm going to take a little while to recover from nutbag.
It's going to be on your next jersey, right on the back. Nutbag.
I am going to choose an icon in the announcing industry. My list is people I actually kind of enjoy listening to because they're so bad. This guy was great at the beginning of his career, and then he became more of a fan, enjoying the alcoholic beverages at the game more than most fans did, and was pretty much drunk on a lot of his broadcasts. Harry Carey. Harry was started out his career with the Cardinals, and if you listen to the older broadcasts, he's pretty good. He's on top of the game. There towards the end, I don't even know if he was watching the game, and he had to be prompted about what was going on. Cubs games that I was listening to, he would get kind of sloppy drunk every once in a while, and he had one of my favorite sayings that he had is and Pepitone slides into second with a stand-up double. What is he watching? What is he doing? Is he even paying attention to what he's talking about? And the Cubs used to do this thing where they would wish happy birthday to fans during the broadcasts, and he's he's got a list of 20 and he's just reading them off. Meanwhile, three outs have been made and a couple runs have scored, and we have no idea what's going on. You were hoping you were watching on TV. But my favorite was him on a day when he had a few too many Budweisers. He was desperately trying to pronounce the name of the Cubs second baseman, Mark Grzelcyk, and just could not do it. It was Grza, Grza, and then finally he just said, "From now on, he'll be known as Mark G." So Harry Carey was a handful. He's my number 5. All right, Marty.
And Harry Carey's is a fun bar. I had a good time there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to go back and pull out a name that I'll be surprised if you guys recognize, but he was an announcer for the Mets for 17 years, and then he was actually in San Francisco for a few years too. He did college football and actually a very competent announcer. So he made my list not for what he sounded like, but what he looked like. His name is Lindsey Nelson.
Oh, yes, I remember him.
Yes. And what made him stand out was his plaid jackets. He wore plaid dinner jacket. And even the legend said that when he got started, he and his wife went into a used clothing store in Manhattan and turned to the manager and says, "Get me all the old jackets you can find." And he must have had a ton of them, because even in referencing this, some of them were even called his psychedelic plaid jackets. So I wish I had an opportunity to show you some pictures. Some of this stuff was, well, I was thinking of doing it. So, but I have no scruples. But anyway,
surprised me.
You guys, everybody heard of Lindsey Nelson? Anyone not heard of Lindsey Nelson?
Yep.
I
Yeah,
think
Lindsey,
I might have missed it.
Okay,
Lindsey,
yeah.
he did the Giants for a couple of years.
Right. Back
And
and he said the only reason he did that was to be closer to his daughter, who was going to school on the West Coast. Yeah.
yeah, he frequently forgot that he was announcing the Giants and would call the Giants the Mets constantly. And after a while, they stopped correcting him. It's okay, whatever. Tonight we're the Mets.
Yeah, and he'd bring up Ron Swoboda stories, like
Yeah.
anybody here in San Francisco cared. This one time, Swoboda and Cleon Jones are at a restaurant.
I just looked him up and looked up some of the images of his jackets. Looks like it's straight off of the Johnny Carson couch.
Yes.
Could be.
Look
All
good on
right.
Marty though.
You struck a nerve.
All right.
That hurt.
Well, good. I had to rev up because I'm going to spark controversy with my number 5 pick.
Well, then proceed, please.
All right. So, growing up as a little kid and growing up a Giants fan, Lon Simmons and Russ Hodges were the announcers at the time. And as a 5, 6, 7-year-old kid, they were just as important to me as any of the players on the team. Like, I grew up, like Lon Simmons used to talk about Rochester big and tall clothing, and like, well, I didn't quite get there, but I always wanted to shop at Rochester when I was a grown man, because that's where Lon Simmons said. So, I mean, they were important to me. And so based on that theory, my number 5 guy, I'm assuming, was just as important to fans of their team as he is, as Lon Simmons was to me. So therefore, I cannot like Vin Scully. So, yeah. And the other thing with Vin, I mean, I know he's historic announcer. The years that he did it by himself in the booth with no partner and all of that stuff. But I remember a short stretch when Kurt Gowdy and Tony Kubek weren't available for the Saturday game of the week on NBC, and it'd be a game like Detroit and Cleveland, and Vin Scully was covering some of those games, and always like about the third or fourth inning, interesting story about the Dodgers, and he'd go
Yeah.
off on I always hated that, but just because he was the Dodger guy, legacy, whatever. I don't like Vince Scully. All right, well, I guess that's our first round done. Let's get it going here. Webby, why don't you start off round 4?
All right. Um, after Lon Simmons and after Russ Hodges, the next guy in the booth for the Giants on the radio side was a guy by the name of Joe Angel. You guys remember
Oh,
him?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He had a couple of stints with the Giants.
yeah. He did the Giants, and then I think he did the Orioles for a while. And he tried hard, but he just wasn't a good match for Simmons, and I think that's why they finally let him go. But he had some pretty good gaffes on the air that I still remember to this day. Um, there's a fly ball to center field, and it drops foul. So my friends and I, we spent a lot of time making fun of Joe Angel and go down to spring training, and we're sitting in front of the announcing booth and we're talking trash about him, and we're getting to the airport and we're flying home, and we sit next to this couple, and we're telling them how bad Joe Angel is, and it turns out they were his in-laws.
Oh.
So yeah, he was not one of my favorites.
Yeah.
When they replaced him, I was very happy. Jeff, what do you got?
All right. I've seen this name show up on both the best and worst announcers lists. So this may be controversial, but we in the Bay Area and Giants fans have been, very lucky with our announcers over the years. And one of them that we love that's still doing it is Mike Krukow. And one of the reasons I love Mike Krukow is he sounds like the guy sitting next to you at a sports bar, and he's just talking. He might know a little bit more than you, but he's just talking like a fan, like a guy who might have a little bit of information, but he just wants to, have a conversation with you about what he loves. And that's how it comes across. And it might be that he's loving for that inning, the kid trying to eat ice cream. But he's still talking about what he loves. The exact opposite of that is the guy who's trying to show you how smart he is. And everything he says is try to impress you how smart he is. And that's what I got every time I listened to Joe Morgan. Joe Morgan was always trying to prove what he knows. Now, here's what's going to happen because this and because this. And then it doesn't happen. He goes, and I knew it wasn't going to happen because of this and this. I liked Joe Morgan as a player. I liked him when he was with the Giants and everything else. But it was nails on a chalkboard every time he talked.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's
And
my number 4.
Jeff, I used to listen to those ESPN games, and if something didn't happen the way Morgan thought it should, he'd bring it up again later in the game. I want to go back to that point in the third inning.
I want to go back to what I said. I don't care about the game. What I said was, Robbie.
All right, my number 4. Having done some announcing, I always imagine in my mind that I'm a way better announcer than I really am. But having done some sporting events and different things and emceeing some events, um, you the announcer should always be a complement to what's going on. This guy is a current broadcaster, and he tries goes out of his way really to try and make more of the game about himself rather than what's happening on the field, and that is The Yankees win. John Sterling, who's on A-bomb from A-Rod. I'm like, how about I punch in the mouth? He's always doing all of these theatrics and everything, and really trying to. It's a distraction, I think, from the game, and he's trying to really call a lot more attention to himself than the game on the field, and it just drives me nuts here. And he doesn't shut up, so it's just which is actually the theme of my next 3 people. They don't shut up. But yeah, he just all of the theatrics and the histrionics that he goes through is just terrible, and it's awful. So, John Sterling, see you later, pal.
Yeah.
Webby,
I have an honorable mention that goes along with those same thoughts, so we'll get to that.
perfect.
I've already done
Marty.
Oh, Marty, sorry, Marty.
Yeah, not a problem. You've hit we've hit on this theme before, but here's another person that's fits in perfectly. And again, I'm kind of old school. It's not about the game. It's not about the players. It's not about anybody else but me. And because I'm Howard Cosell, and it's all about me. And to the point, and then like Rob was saying earlier with Harry Carey, he's not all there all the time. He's a little he's a little juiced. He's a little juiced. And what an obnoxious son of a bitch. Individual. Excuse me. Individual. A little editing done there. Even to the point there, I not remember if it's true or not, but the rumor was he was so full of booze he threw up in Don Meredith's boot one night on Monday. I don't know if that's true or not. And it almost he became the parody of sports journalism for the longest time. So he has to be on the list somewhere, even though he's been gone for generations. But good old Howard Cosell.
Yeah, Marty, that Mark Fidrich game gets played every once in a while
yes.
on Major League Baseball Network.
Yeah.
And what I harken back to is there's a guy doing play-by-play. I want to say it's Keith Jackson, but maybe not. And an exciting play happens. The announcer tells you what's happening, and then the commentator provides color and analysis of what's going on. Cosell, if the play is important enough, he just talks right over the announcer. It's like, okay, I guess I'll just step aside while Howard blathers on about whatever he wants to. Yeah.
Okay.
Though, you remember the movie Better Off Dead with John Cusack?
Yeah.
The 2 immigrants from China.
Yeah, that only speak as Howard Cosell.
They learned to speak English from watching Howard Cosell. Yes. The once proud man, now a shattered shell of his former self. Oh boy! Well, guess what?
What?
It's that time.
We're at that time.
It's that time.
As many of you know, Highlights from Lowlife show is sponsored by our good friends at Almanac Brewing in Alameda, California, one of America's premier craft brewers. We are all enjoying Almanac beer as we sit here and talk crap about really bad announcers. Tonight, as always, I'm drinking the from the lager series, the current release, the Porch Light Lager. Super flavorful, yet still refreshing and easy to drink. And if you see the moth, there's a moth on there, which Porch Light, and I think that means like a moth to a light, you'll be drawn to this beer.
We all knew it was coming.
I changed it up a little bit.
I'm waiting for a new one. Come on.
So, what you guys drinking?
Well, you know me, tried and true. Oh, wait a second. It's Oktoberfest.
Whoa! Holy shnikes. What is the Kolsch industry going to do without you?
I forgot how good this stuff was. and it's it is 5%, so it's it's not going to kick your ass, but it's still gonna give you some enjoyment out of it. So
Remind you why you got up in the morning.
that's right.
But don't worry, Jeff. I'll pick up the ball. I have the Colts this evening.
Nice.
Thank you.
Attaboy.
As a tribute to our good friends who did a great job with us last week, JC and Brent, who introduced me to the Colts. Here's to you guys. Thanks again. You did a great job. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys did a good show last week. That was fun.
Yes. All right. Sadly,
Oh, we got to cut you off, Rob. Sorry.
I'm completely out of sour beer.
Oh,
you're not. I
no.
have a trunk full for you.
So tonight, I am drinking a brand new beer, the Almanac Off-World IPA,
Oh.
an
Mysterious.
India Pale Ale, dry hop with Nelson. And I asked these guys, who's Nelson? And why is he in my beer?
I hear there's a guy that has a jacket named Nelson.
A lot of them.
There was a famous astronaut, Major Nelson.
Major Nelson.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
So I'm enjoying this. This is the tagline is bold, lush, and juicy. So we're gonna have to share this with Big Juicy.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
And it looks like we got a what you drinking call from a listener.
Oh, great.
A JC from Elk Grove.
What you drinking? I'm having a Rocktoberfest that I found at Beverages and More. Cheers, boys.
You even caught us in the background of his recording.
If you call into the show, turn the volume down on the radio, please.
What? I can't.
Right.
Am I on yet?
Anyway, well, that's what you're drinking for tonight. Thanks for enjoying the show. Stay with us. Stop by Almanac Brewing sometime in Alameda. Tell them you heard about Almanac from the Highlights from Lowlifes show, and they probably won't do anything special for you, but it'll make them feel good. I don't know. They might do something special for you, so let's run with that. They might do something special. All right. Let's get back to this before what you drinking always we kind of careen out of control and we have to pull it back with our number 3. So let's see. Marty, you went last time. Who do you want to go first this time?
Jeff.
All right. Mine's going to be really simple and I don't have to say much. Chris Collinsworth. And my best description for Chris Collinsworth is he's a boring Joe Morgan.
And you actually just did a Chris Collinsworth impression when you said, I really don't have to say anything more than this. Chris Collinsworth. And then you said more.
He's everything I said about Joe Morgan, but done super boring.
Yeah.
And if and again, he was somewhere on my list. The rumor was that his voice now on the Madden football game, now that we don't have Mr. Madden anymore. What a come down. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not, but I hope not. If that doesn't give you up for gaming, I don't know what would. But.
Yeah, really. All right, Marty,
Very
back
true.
to you.
Oh, I don't watch a lot of college basketball. And part of the reason why I don't watch college basketball is one of two gentlemen that I'll bring up. But this guy, believe it or not, he still thinks that the Pac-12 is the best conference in basketball, but he'll say anything, and that's Bill Walton. And he's just, and it doesn't matter what's going on in the game. If he's got a story, he's going to tell. And he'll go on for 3 minutes, and you'll have no idea what he's trying to connect because he's in the never regions of his own mind. And I think he's just burned out from weed or something. But he just goes off, and you're just kind of sitting there going, "Is the game over? I hope so, because you're over with me." Click.
I don't know. I kind of like his incoherent ramblings.
Reminds a lot of yourself, huh?
Yeah, pretty much. Or, Weber doing, hey, here's the other shows on the Mic'd Up app.
Now he's going to go 10 minutes.
Webby, take it away.
Well, I am seeing some of the comments that are coming in, and no, we don't necessarily think we're better than these people. Just that these teams and organizations could probably find better people to represent them. But
There's at least 3 on this show right now.
That's right. That's right. So the current Pirates announcing team includes the longtime announcer Greg Brown. And now I know a lot of you probably aren't exposed to Pirates broadcasts on a regular basis. The Pirates are not good. They don't really have a chance of being good anytime soon. And I realized the job of an announcer, an announcing team, is to hype the product. But this guy is way, way overboard. He will, whenever a Pirate guy hits a home run, he talks about, we're going to raise the Jolly Roger. And it's almost embarrassing. You kind of can hear the other guys in the booth groan. We were down 15-2, and now it's 15-3. Me personally, I think it's kind of embarrassing to real Pirates everywhere to have that, every time there's a home run. Let's raise the Jolly Roger. And every time he talks about the team, it's in the most positive sense. I mean, let's get some reality going. If that team wins 70 games, it's a good season for them. And let's just go with that. So yeah, Greg Brown, take a listen. It's so bad it's good. So listen. All right. Who still needs to go in this
I guess
round?
that's me. Yep.
Okay.
All right. So this isn't a specific person. There was 6 people I can remember, even though I don't want to name their names because I don't want to give them that much credit. Although one of them was Hunter Pence, who is very good on the Giants broadcast, but was terrible in this venue because of the way it was formatted. And that is anyone who's done announcing for the Apple TV baseball shows. Oh my God, they were horrible. It was almost unwatchable. We were at the point where I was trying to work with Alexa to sync up the broadcast through the MLB radio app and turn off the TV sound because the Apple TV were so bad. And the other part, separate from the announcing, now you got me rolling. The Apple, we get it. Apple owns a drone because every time they kept showing drone shots of the stadium and they over and over and cutting away, and all these people are cutting it up and having a good old time at the baseball game without giving us any useful information about the baseball other than some weird stat that they kept popping up on the corner of the screen, and then they talk about that ad nauseum. But boy, those broadcasts were just horrible. And the NFL playoffs on Peacock recently, and Apple getting these, even though I already pay for the MLB thing, but I couldn't get those games on the MLB thing because Apple had the rights to it. It's starting to drive me nuts. But those announcers that made me not want to subscribe to Apple TV. I'll tell you that much right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was my Bill Walton stream of consciousness. I covered drones in an announcer show.
Boy, did I open Pandora's box.
Okay. I had to bail myself out. All right. That's the end of round 3. Thank
Woo.
God. Round 2 is only going to get worse. People, stick around. This is going to be. If you like watching car crashes in slow motion, have we got a show for you? So let's start this off. I will start off round 2. I haven't started one off yet. My wife is not an announcer, but
Thanks.
I just had to qualify that. But she loves the Olympics, and in summertime, the gymnastics stuff is even. Which also, here we go again. The gymnastics stuff, they show them doing like a practice session. Meanwhile, there's real events happening, and they don't televise that. And they do the same thing in the winter with figure skating, and some of the most god awful announcing of people rambling on like I'm doing, way beyond how long they should be talking about things. Overexcited, all the stuff I hate, making the whole thing about yourself. Like this guy. Boy, and those figure skating things, Johnny Weir is so freaking horrible. And I have to hear it because Yvonne loves the Olympics and loves all the figure skating events. And that guy's wearing outrageous costumes, and he does his hair up like something about Mary in the front and the whole thing. And he feels like he's yelling, and it's horrible. I can't stand it. And it's got to be on because I watch baseball all year long. I can give her a week and a half of the Olympics. So I suffer through that. But man, I don't know of any other sport or any other event in the world that could have an announcer like that and get away with it. It is just wretched. So Johnny Weir. All right.
Wow.
Jeff.
If you want a fun Johnny Weir moment, there's a good Family Guy episode with Johnny Weir and what's the female skater he works with all the time? Lipinski? Tara Lipinski?
Tara Lipinski? Okay.
There's a good episode with the two of them on there and Stewie. Check it out.
Yeah.
I got a twofer for you.
Ooh.
All right. One of my other ones I could have grouped with some others as well, but I didn't want to steal anybody's list. But this one I have to put together because they really go hand in hand for me. When you get somebody who gets a little notoriety in their job and they get known for something and they lean into it and they exaggerate it and exaggerate it more and exaggerate it more, and then it all becomes that and a caricature of what they used to be, and that's their whole personality now instead of just the job they used to do of commentating. Dick Vitale and Lee Corso. Those guys have become such caricatures of the personality that got them fame that it's so over the top that nobody really cares what they say anymore. It's how they say it. The Corso with the mascot helmets and Vitale just going crazy on some thought. And just going out of there.
Baby.
Yeah.
I do like when Dick Vitale has his all airport team. Guys that look good in the airport.
Oh, God.
Not so good in the gym.
Again, maybe comment on something that happened in the game.
Yeah. Looks good in the airport, not on the court.
But that's my twofer for number 2.
Good picks. Good picks.
Webby.
All right. Most of these that I've said so far are people that I kind of like listening to, but this is not one of them. And Jeff, to your point about it being a team, I'm gonna call out Marty Brenneman and old Giants pitcher Jeff Brantley doing the Reds broadcast now. I think Marty retired now. Not Marty Brown, Marty Brenneman.
I have it closer.
Yeah.
What the heck? What?
Was Brenneman the one that got in trouble for something he said on air?
That was
Yes.
Tom
Yes.
Brenneman. That's his son.
Okay.
Tom.
Okay.
Okay.
This is Dad. Dad's been around since wheels were square. And
Well, didn't he tutored Moses, right?
yeah, he tutored Moses.
He was
So
Moses' tutor in high
Marty's
school.
been with the Reds for a long time, and I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago, he decided he needed to reconnect with the younger generation. So during broadcasts, this is true, I'm not making this up. They had a segment in every game where he had to determine um, a name was given to him, and he had to determine if it was a gangster or a gangsta. In other words, was it a criminal from the Al Capone era, or was it a rapper?
Oh my God.
So they would talk about this during the baseball game. And I'm going, what does this have to do with anything?
I mean, to be fair, the Reds had a lot of bad years.
True.
You could,
So we get to listen to this 70-something-year-old man try, he's given a name like Ice-T, and he has to determine if that's somebody that worked with Capone or not. It was just so bad. And he would say, "I'm trying to connect with you kids," and all. And I don't know. I think of this kind of condescending, but hey, oh well.
I think it was hella awesome.
Yeah, it probably was. Probably was for you. Yeah. All right. Who's next? Marty.
We just had to put up with this guy over the weekend, and as an analyst for the NFL, um, he's an intelligent man, and he's a good analyst. Is Tony Romo, but you don't need to analyze every bloody play. Say something's significant or share us a little insight, but we don't need to ramble on every bloody play.
So you're saying he puts the anal in analyst?
Yeah.
I mean, like anal retentive, right?
Oh yes, but of course,
Yes.
It gets on my nerves. And again, you're supposed to be the analyst. Give me a little insight, which is very bright, but like Jeff was saying with the characters, tone it down, bring it down. That's
Fair
my
enough.
choice. That's my choice.
All right.
Was I the last to go to?
You were the last to go in round two. I couldn't speak about anybody's movements for the day, but we can't move on to,
Oh God.
to the part where
It doesn't get any better, does it?
No.
You're overanalyzing again. Okay.
Yeah, we're at the part now where
Jump
Rob
ship.
Weber will tell us
Now-
about the mic'd up app. Oh, wait. We got a comment about Chris Collinsworth.
Oh,
First off,
My hand is raised.
so that
goes with
somebody
number
was
two.
trying to get our attention. And then he came up with, this is Teddy Bear, of course.
Chris Collinsworth has never gotten over the fact that the 49ers beat them twice in the Super Bowl. And it shows when he's broadcasting.
just a
call.
little bit. Just a little bitter.
And I cannot think of a better segue to having Rob tell us about the mic'd up app and the shows that are available besides this one, even though you wouldn't, this is the primary for most of you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys feel free to offload and reload. I'm going to spend the next few minutes telling you about what's going on the Mic'd Up app. First of all, you are all watching us on the Mic'd Up app live. And if you want to leave a comment or a question for us, hit the microphone at the bottom of the screen, and you've got 30 seconds to leave us a comment or a question. We can see these coming in. If you say something naughty, we won't see it. It gets removed automatically. So think about that, JC. So, got some other shows on the app besides ours. Jim Darby did a show earlier today, 4 o'clock Pacific. Jim is a former executive from Easton Sports. He's written a couple of books, including one called Bears and the Bigs about former Cal Bears who have played in the major leagues. Today's topic for Jim was very interesting. He talked about all of the court cases that were brought to remove aluminum bats from organized baseball and
Oh.
the effect that that had on Easton back in the day. Jim was heavily involved in defending the company and providing data to the legislators to determine whether or not the bats would be barred from games. And in some cases, they lost. And so there are still leagues out there that require wooden bats, um, even today. So, real great show. Jim does a show every 2 weeks, half hour, 4 p.m. on Wednesdays Pacific time. Hall of Fame conversations with John Rieger and Barry Smith. They just posted a new show coming up later this week, I believe. Take a look in your upcoming list on the Mic'd Up app. They are interviewing a former Olympian swimmer for their show, which is Hall of Fame Conversations. These are people who are in the Florida Sports Hall of Fame. They've had folks like Wade Boggs and Fred Bolitnikoff on the show before, and Rick Barry. Speaking of Rick Barry, Rick has a show with his co-host Cyrus called The Rick Barry Show. Rick will jump on the app every once in a while. They don't have a regular schedule, but there's usually some kind of topic that has spurred them to have a show. He talks all things Warriors, NBA, ABA, college. He's got strong opinions about what the Warriors should do and what the NBA should do, and he's not afraid to share them. He will get to your questions if you ask one. Um, and don't be afraid of his reply. You might not like it. Yankees coast to coast. I'm waiting for the boo.
Oh yeah. Oh, duh.
Okay.
I was waiting for you to say something nice about him.
There's
Yankees coast to coast is hosted by our friends Mike Miller and Adam Schneider.
Friends.
They've done a couple of shows recently from the Yankees fantasy camp in Florida. Mike and Adam are good friends. They met at fantasy camp. Mike's on the West Coast, Adam's on the East Coast. They talk all things Yankees, and they are on Thursday nights at 4 p.m. Pacific. So keep a lookout for them. Jason Demers of the Sharks is doing some sporadic shows on the network, and Max Miller from the Hockey News is also doing some sporadic shows on the network. So, we get the 3 minutes. I thought I was well within my time. Anyway, to see what's coming up in the app, look in the upcoming column. If you see a show you like, go into the show and press the heart button next to the host, and you'll be notified of any new shows or schedule changes. There you go. I'm done.
Golf clap out there. And let me check in with the children and see how they're feeling, though. All right. Well, that brings us to round one. Marty, you closed out round two.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Right back at you. You start round one.
Okay. Round one. I think it's one on everybody's list. I think a lot of people didn't put him on their list just because they figured everybody else would have him on their list. I see a lot of heads nodding. I really wanted to not pick this guy just because of that very reason, but I couldn't justify not picking him as my number one. Joe Buck. He
What did you
ruins
say?
Joe Buck.
Oh, okay. That's what I
Buck.
thought you said. Yeah.
Joe Buck. He ruins football. He ruins baseball. I can only imagine how much the NBA has paid to not have him ever do one of their games. Same with the NHL. Guy just pompous. Um, I can't. Yeah, I don't even want to go into how bad he is because he's just bad. He's just bad. Joe Buck is horrible. Thank you very much. Good night.
Very nice.
Jonesy.
All right, my guy. I thought you were going to say this name when you said it was going to be on everybody's list. This is a composite of all the things we said why we dislike most of these people. All seem to hit this guy. And it culminates in a little story. I was lucky enough to go on a Giants cruise many years ago where we were on board with some Giants and had some activities. And one of the activities was a Q&A where all the Giants representatives were on stage and we got to ask them questions. And somebody asked a question about announcers and specifically asked about this announcer. And Jeff Kent got up, leaned way into a microphone and said, F Tim McCarver.
Boy, the kids agree.
He didn't like him the same as we don't like him.
Wow.
He's pompous. He's obnoxious. He's loud when he doesn't need to be loud. He's trying to show off his smarts when he doesn't have to. For all the other reasons that all these other guys are up there, he's my number one, Tim McCarver.
You know what? And you bring up an excellent point because in really good announcing, really good announcers like Jim Nantz and Al Michaels, they know when to not talk.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let the moment, let the crowd, let the sound be the story. And Joe Buck and Tim McCarver are not those guys.
Exactly.
So apparently there's a lot of people that agree with you, Jeff, because there was a big push several years ago to push up to the top of the Google listings, awful announcing. If you type that in, Tim McCarver comes in first.
And I think doesn't Deion Sanders feel the same way? Wasn't that the issue in the World Series celebration where he was dumping on McCarver, dumping all the stuff on McCarver because he didn't like him? You guys remember that?
Yeah, I do vaguely remember that for sure.
Yeah. All right, Marty.
Well, I'm gonna have to duplicate what Jeff said, except that I'm gonna go back to what I said. He doesn't belong as number 5. He belongs at number 1, and that's Stephen A. Smith. Egotistical, loud mouth. What was his credentials to get him on a show in the first place? And the only reason I put him there, because I don't care for the gentleman, and when he's usually on, I turn the channel. But I was driving around, and he was on the something he did was on a sports talk show, and they're starting to go into this, and they listened to this, criticize some guy, rant and rave, and all of a sudden it went on for 3 minutes. I mean, just entirely for 3 minutes, and it was. He was whipping on a guy by the name of Jason Whitlock. And I thought, okay, I kind of remember that name. I really don't know. So I looked it up, and he's one of the ESPN commentators, and You know, and why would someone go on for 3 minutes just tearing this guy apart? I mean, it wasn't so much a critique; it was just ripping him, calling him fat, calling him stupid, calling him over what? A review of Stephen A. Smith's book. Whitlock didn't like it, and he got the torment of this character. What a pompous ass. He belongs, he's number one. He is, you want to be, you think you're number one? Trust me. You're number, well, we won't, forget that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Webby, go ahead.
All right, that's a lot of hate and vitriol. I'm gonna bring.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that? I thought I toned it down. I thought I toned it down.
I want to end on a happy note.
Oh,
This guy is the worst announcer I've ever heard, bar none, and he was so entertaining to listen to. He was the nicest man in the world, but when he was announcing a baseball game, it was like it was happening to him, and he had no control of it. Jerry Coleman of the San Diego Padres. He is legendary for his malaprops on the air. And I one night had the privilege, and I want to say privilege because it was so much fun. I got to sit in the booth behind him as the game was being announced. So you get a good flavor for what it's like to announce a game. And most guys just look at the game and tell you what's happening on the field. And I quickly realized that the game was moving way too fast for Jerry. He had no idea what was going on. And they had a couple of spotters whispering in his ear, "This is what you need to talk about. This is happening right now. Look at the field. Look at the field." So he has three of my favorite lines. These are were actually said on the air, and they're some of my favorites. He's surveying a game and he sees a pitcher out in the bullpen. He goes, "Oh, fans, looks like the Padres have some players up. Rich Folkers is throwing up in the bullpen." And you hear some whispers on the air, and somebody snickering and laughing. Another good one is the Giants are in town and they're playing the Padres, and Jerry announces, "There's a ground ball to LeMaster at short, and he throws Madlock into the dugout." He kind of forgets some of the words that are required to finish the sentence, and he's getting ahead of himself. And then, of course, there's the famous Dave Winfield ball in left field. There's a long drive to left. Winfield's back on it. He hits his head against the wall. It's rolling back towards the infield. Poor Jerry, nicest man in the world. And I don't know if you guys remembered, but one year when the Padres were significantly bad, they decided it would be a good idea to take Jerry out of the announcing booth and put him as manager of the team. That lasted less than 1 year because I think they realized, oh God, he doesn't have any idea what's happening here. So he's my number one pick. I know many of you that called in were waiting for different names to be mentioned, and maybe those will be mentioned when Rob goes through our comments.
Yeah, we got quite a few too, because this is clearly a topic that strikes a nerve with a lot of people, particularly with Mara Lynn Cooper.
Off the top of my head, the two worst announcers I can think of are Ken Levine for the Seattle Mariners and Dennis Miller on Monday Night Football.
Good call.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
Good
that.
call.
Remember, God, he tried so
Talk about
hard.
somebody trying to impress his intelligence to you. Wow.
No kidding. All right. Hey, our favorite, Ezra von Mermelschwanz.
Ezra von Mermelschwanz, back at you from Yankees Coast to Coast every Thursday at 7. John, Sterling, hands down the worst.
Good call,
From the New
Hez.
York Yankees. Knows nothing about the game. Never remembers to tell us the score. Can't see it. Screws up every call. Has no problem telling us about the stupid piano bar that he went to the night before in Chicago. And his vain home run call. Giancarlo Miamorte. What a pile of pus.
All right,
Wow.
wait. I have to steal that. I just have to remember to call anybody I don't like a pile of.
I don't know. Nutbag also works.
Man, this show's full of sound bites.
Oh, hey, our buddy Big Juicy has checked in.
Number 5 would be Stephen A. Smith over at ESPN. Number 4 would be Dennis Miller from a few years ago, washed-up comedian trying to do color commentary on Monday Night Football. And a tie for number 2 would be Stephen Nelson, Katie Nolan. They're the team that comes to us from Apple TV doing Friday Night Baseball. Very juvenile banter between the two of them. Number 1 coming up.
Good call on the Apple TV guys.
Yeah.
And gals.
And my number 1, and this happens on the West Coast, I think, for the most part, when the main hockey markets go to bed at night. But that would be lady announcers on NHL games, and in particular, Leah Hextall on ESPN. And listening to her, fine when the play is at a normal pace, but when it gets intense, her pitch goes up, the volume goes up, and I reach for the remote and hit that mute button.
Opinions of the callers are not necessarily reflective of the management. Thank you. Lady announcer, Dave. All right, Vonnie checks in.
So my top 5 may sound kind of repetitive. However, my number 5 is Dennis Miller. My number 4 is Carlos Ramirez.
Oh, yeah.
Number 3 is Carlos Ramirez. My number 2 is Joe Buck. And finally, my number 1 is, of course, Joe Buck. They're obnoxious, all of them.
So, for those of you that aren't familiar, Carlos Ramirez is a pre and post game show guy for the Giants on TV, and he doesn't do every game, thank God. But for those of us that actually like watching a post game show, you kind of turn it off when he's on there. He's another guy that makes it all about himself, and it's just he's really hard to. He parrots back things that other people said on other parts of the broadcast in the post game show as though it's his original thought. So there you go. There's the backstory on that guy. Bay Meadows Bill, who hasn't called in a while, has checked in.
I hate knocking people because I know I can't do a better job. But in general, guys that I thought were icons growing up, if they're still announcing there, they're usually a shadow of themselves. That being said, I've never been a big fan of Hey Fellas, Alex Rodriguez. I just don't think he contributes much insight. Thanks.
Yeah. I think Alex is one of those guys that I'm going to say something controversial just to stir the pot and then see what happens.
Yeah.
All right, JC.
JC here. Number 5, Ted Leitner, my Padres. Number 4, Chris Collingsworth, because I hate the Niners. Number 3, Troy Aikman, I am the best. Number 2, Tim McCarver, that 5-letter word, strike. Number 1, check your Instagram, hashtag Joe Buck sucks.
Oh, JC bringing it home from the callers tonight. That's awesome.
Nice job.
So,
all right,
let's
I got a
dive
few
into
emails and texts here.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let's go to that then.
Our buddy Michael has come in with his 5 and a couple of honorable mentions that I think you guys will enjoy. Number 5, Ron Fairley, who did the Giants for years. How he could simply ruin a Giants game from the entertainment standpoint. Number 4, Bryant Gumbel, absolutely bad on football. Number 3, Steve Lyons, not sure who was playing on several broadcasts I heard. Number 2, Tim Carver could make the most exciting play dull. And number 1, Joe Buck tried too hard to seem smart and informed. Here's an honorable mention that I think you guys will enjoy. Dizzy Dean.
Ooh.
If any of you know the story of Dizzy Dean,
Yes.
he didn't have a good mastery of the English language. He almost quit announcing over complaints from the St. Louis School Board that he was ruining teachers' efforts to teach English while he was learning them baseball. He was so popular, though, that the teachers eventually apologized and recognized his value. Many times in the middle of a game, he would stop and sing the Wabash Cannonball song on the air. He was a real treasure for St. Louis baseball at the time. So even with all these chips and dents, he was viewed as a great announcer. But in terms of what we would call good or bad, I don't know if we ever knew what was going on in the game when Dizzy was announcing. So,
Well, I mean, Michael was alive back then, and probably
yeah,
heard him
I'm sure he
broadcast.
was.
None of us were.
In the era of square wheels.
Yeah.
One other from our buddy Bart. I don't know if you guys remember this guy. I think he was so bad he only lasted a year. Phil Stone.
Check that.
Doing the
Phil
Giants
Stone.
game. In fact, that's exactly what Bart called him. Phil, check that Stone. Phil would constantly tell us what was happening on the field and then correct himself because it wasn't what was happening on the field.
I specifically remember him like, now batting Larry Herndon. Check that. Darrell Evans. Okay. Black outfielder, white infielder. How'd you pull that off? Check that.
All right. That's what I got on this end. You guys want to do any honorable mentions?
I got a couple.
Yeah, me too.
To go with the John Sterling, the guy who just wants to hear his own voice. This guy is loved in his territory. I couldn't stand him. Hawk Harrelson.
Oh, yeah.
The White Sox guy. He just wanted to hear his catchphrases and hear himself talk. To go along with Stephen A. Smith, I could have made it a trifecta of him, Skip Bayless, and Mad Dog Russo, all in the same vein.
Yep.
And the guy who some people like him, I can't stand him. He's trying too hard to be cool and hip. Dallas Braden with the A's.
So Dallas Braden, he still does some of the A's stuff, right? On field.
He's still doing on field, and he does color as well.
Okay.
He'll do color, but it's just he's trying so hard to be like to connect with the younger audience, and it's just painful.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a few.
Yeah, me too.
Ron Santo, Rob and I were talking about Santo before. He was one of my favorite players growing up, but he's clearly one of the worst announcers. It kind of like you'd have to remind Ron, hey, you're doing radio. You need to describe what's happening on the field. That's what you're here for, to provide analysis of what's going on. There's the famous Brant Brown dropped fly ball that ruined a Cubs season, and all we got from Ron Santo was, "Oh no!"
So mine is the Larry Bittner at the plate for the Cubs. This is their last chance. Clay Carroll on the mound. He throws and It's like the end of the show. Like they go into an old style commercial after that. Wait, what? Was it pop up? Was strikeout? What do you do?
If you're scoring at home, good luck. Mike Shannon of the Cardinals.
Mm.
I think he gargled with nails. It was his announcing style was just a series of grunts and groans, half sentences, kind of a few words here and there. It was hard to understand what was going on. And then Robbie mentioned earlier Jim Nance, and Jim Nance is a good announcer. My beef is more about how he was how he had to portray PGA golf as if those that were PGA golfers were gods and they were lucky that we were lucky to walk the same earth as they were. and and I can't get too loud because I need to keep it quiet because I'm announcing a golf tournament. Even though I'm miles away from anybody, I need to keep it down. It's like, oh God, we all know you're in a studio across the country. Just say anything that you want to as loud as you want to. But no, I just never liked the coverage that PGA would put on. I thought it was pompous.
Don't you mock the Nance.
Mock
Don't you mock the Nance. The man is class. Something I'll never have.
Touche.
Jonesy, you got any? I got a couple.
I
If you
already
don't.
gave mine.
Oh yeah, Marty.
No, go ahead. You're on a roll.
All right, the two guys, I lumped them together. One's in the Hall of Fame for announcing, and I don't understand it. But for the Royals, Denny Matthews, and for the Astros, the Hall of Famer Milo Hamilton, they are the classic old men get off my lawn guys in their broadcast. It's infuriating to listen to. Like, he dropped that pop up. What was he thinking? I'm like, I'm thinking he tried to catch it because they're professional athletes. They're just grumpy, and when their teams are bad, I mean, it's sort of funny in a way, but it's hard to listen to an entire broadcast of those guys. I mean, that's the MLB TV thing that you can download and watch all these games. You get to hear so much awful announcing around the country, and those two guys really stood out to me as guys that are just they're cranky, they're pissed off, even when their teams are playing well, they're not super happy about it. They're just really rough to listen to. And then on the lines with Johnny Weir, Scott Hamilton, look, dude, you do not have to shout. Just like Rob was talking about Jim Nance. Like, oh my God, a triple sow cow! Like, pretty standard move, bro. So, and then Kurt Thomas in gymnastics, for that matter, too, in the Olympics. Like, there's another guy. You don't have to shout on everything.
We're back on this. All right.
All right. We might have to leave it right there. What do you think?
That's a good spot. I think that's a good spot.
All right. Well, in that case, Marty, you don't have any honorable mentions?
Well, I just had one, and he was a staple for the A's for years. Passed away just in the last few years, but Ray Fosse, the most monotone announcer in baseball that anyone has ever heard.
Oh, I thought you were going to do your impression.
My screen is not frozen. I'm sorry. Yeah, there it is. Ray Fosse. You just got. You want to reach out to the radio and go, "Come on, you can do this. Let's go, come on." But yeah.
Hey, there's one other guy I wanted to mention. We were. Do you guys in your sports announcing? Do you care if the guy's a homer or not?
To an extent, I think if he's covering the whole game, and he's when this home team does it, like Kruko will get excited, but also Kruko will call them out as well.
Yeah.
So they can be a homer as long as they're honest.
Yeah.
And Kruko's a great example of a guy that says, "Hey, sometimes they hit your best pitch out for a home run." You
Yeah.
tip your cap and move on.
Yeah.
And as long as you're a homer that understands the concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. The old time Pirates announcer Bob Prince, he was a different breed of announcer that we may never see again. He was all in on the Pirates, all excitement when announcing the Pirates lineup. And for your Buccos today, it's going to be Roberto Clemente and Willie Stargell. And for them, it's going to be Mickey Mantle. You know, he would never refer to the other team by their nickname. They were all those from New York. You know, never raised his voice. Always treated them with disgust. Like why are they here on our Pittsburgh field, making it trying to beat our team? Don't they have any respect for us? It's just over the top. And some people love that. I thought it was like watching a comic book.
Well, he started on radio before he went to TV, and that probably
Correct.
played on radio before baseball became a huge thing on TV.
Yeah.
But he did
Yeah.
not adapt. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Well, hey, I think that brings us pretty much to the conclusion of another exciting episode. We got a couple of cliffhangers here. If
Exciting
you
episode?
were paying attention, like there's some rage out there that we got to see if it carries over to next week's episode or not. So anyway, thanks for joining us here on Highlights for Lowlifes. Remember to follow us on the app. Remember, we also are available on YouTube. We've got a website, Instagram, Facebook, all the things. So join us in every possible way so you can have some lowlifes in your life and feel better about yourself.
That's good. I like
Yeah,
that.
thank you. Yeah.
That's really good. Thank you, Almanac.
All
Yeah,
right.
don't forget Almanac Brewing. Thanks for bailing me out on that one.
You...
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.